What's going on, guys? And welcome to episode 9. I am your host, Marcus. And in this episode, we are talking about the greatness within. Yes, we all have value. And I know sometimes, depending on your situation in life, it can seem like you may not have value. You feel like you may not know who you are in the given moments. A lot of times we tend to forget that we are in constant creation, and I have talked about that. But being said, you have value. You've never lost yourself if you can remember that you're always creating yourself, that the story can always change, that you do have value. There's something deep down inside you that you want to share with the world. Now, there's a lot of times you may feel like you don't want to share that because you may feel like you will get judged for sharing that. For the longest time, there used to be this stigma associated with being a nerd. And growing up, I was one of the biggest nerds ever. And in saying so, that used to be like the bad thing, right? You don't want to be labeled as the nerd. There was the geeky kid. You don't want to be labeled as that kid. But, fast forward a couple years now, and it's cool to be the nerdy kid. It's the new hotness out there in the world, right? And so understanding this, just in general, you have to realize that you have value. You need to be yourself. Realize that you provide value. This is something that I think we don't typically see, because a lot of times we think the knowledge and the talents that we have, other people have, when in fact that's not true. We all might have similar talents, but you have your own unique talents. You've learned stuff a very unique way. You have to realize that our unique experience is based off of different things in our life that we have built, how we've learned things, and how we interpret the world. And understanding that it's unique. Our perspective is unique. There's value in our perspective. This is why I've talked about it a couple of times, but that everybody just has value. It doesn't matter who that person is. You should never judge somebody from, whatever their quote unquote status may be, whatever material things they may be. I think society as a whole, marketing and everything like that, right? They paint this picture that you aren't good enough, when in fact you are. And that picture is put in your mind to make you purchase other products, right? To make you go out and try to seek that. And then when you realize that these temporary solutions don't work, then you go back to where you were and you feel down and depressed that you have no value, when in fact you've always had the value. Your uniqueness, there is a unique blueprint in you. There is value there. There are things that people don't know. There are ways you teach that other people can't teach. There's a perspective you have that other people do not have. And maybe your perspective can show somebody else a different way to approach life. Maybe your talents and tips can help somebody grow a garden when before they couldn't grow, a little, watermelon or something, right? I'm not a good gardener either. So if you are a green thumb, maybe you can shoot me some tips. All I know is it needs sun and water. That's about as far as I go. But being said, you have value. You have a unique approach. Don't ever think you don't. And you should express that and get that out. And, I just had that interview with Antonio, and he talked about this a lot, about different quotes, about having that song you want to express to the world. And that, the richest place in the world is a graveyard with all those songs that were never shared with the world. This is what's important. And this leads me into a talking point that I've really been thinking about this week is, I talk about how if there is no hardships, you wouldn't appreciate the good times. And vice versa, right? This being said, we have to have struggle to appreciate life. That's why there is death. Death puts things in perspective that life is short, and we forget that. Maybe this year it's been brought to the forefront, but ultimately, it is one of those teaching tools that show you that this experience we have, this human experience, is a short one. Are you living in the situation you want to live in? This is something I talk about all the time because it's extremely important, because a lot of times we think we are stuck because of perhaps our surrounding area. And something I talked about on Thursday, when I was talking about the small business stuff, I was really talking about, like for me, when I was living in upstate New York, like there was like nothing, absolutely no jobs. There's very few jobs. The one good job was a pharmaceutical company. If you didn't get in there, which was, again, extremely hard to get into, you weren't making above minimum wage. But how much more was that? Yeah, you might have had a decent living there, but it was hard to get in. And I remember waiting months. Maybe it was not so long. It was a couple months, I know that, but months back when you're 19, 20 years old seemed like forever. And to think that you have a tool, you have the internet, you have a tool that can allow you to get that song out and share with the world. You're not limited to where you are anymore. You can, if you want to be an artist, you can be an artist. You can express that. You can show that. You can teach that. If you want to be a gardener, you love gardening, you can go out, express that, give tips, give gardening tips. Maybe you were an entrepreneur. How did you get to where you were? How did you become the online guru? That word is really associated with some bad juju, but but nonetheless, I think you are trying to understand what I'm getting to here, is that you have value, whatever it is, whatever you want to bring, whatever that song is within you, you need to bring it out and stop questioning what everybody else is going to think. Again, death is a real thing, and death is essentially, again, the yin to our yang, and put in perspective that we only live the human experience once. And they always talk about, live life with no regrets. And I truly believe in that. And a lot of times I do struggle. There are times when I will live life with no regrets. Sometimes I just wake up in the morning and I'm like, okay, no regrets. I just go for it, right? I'd rather things be said, I'd rather actions be taken and know than not say or do anything and left guessing, because then you would never know. And you realize that by living this way, that what you didn't think was possible is possible, and it opens up new doors, new avenues that you dreamed of. And this is what's so great about it, is even like me and my journey onto YouTube, my journey onto, opening a business, being an entrepreneur and doing stocks and everything like that, right? I never knew what an entrepreneur was when I was young. Every time that word would come up was when I was young, my dad would shut it down. He said, no, you're working 9 to 5. That's what you're doing, right? And with that being said, and then when I got older, I had to teach myself how to do all these things. And it was exciting, and I never thought it was possible. And then I pushed forward with it. I did it. I've been doing it as a side thing for a long time. And understanding that and seeing the possibilities and seeing what it's opening up, it opens up a whole new world, right? Someone feeling like I was an introvert, that I wouldn't like, doing that, going out and interviewing people and doing all these things and And being in that element and seeing these people ignite change in their lives, the things that I talk about, and actually seeing it in people that are doing it, right? It fires me up. It energizes me to want to go out and seek new people and provide people that mindset to be able to ignite their own change in their lives, to find their song and to express that song to the world. And this is what excites me. And that's why I'm so grateful for you guys that are on here and want to ignite your mindset. Those people that are listening, that watch me on YouTube, you guys are awesome. You guys want to make that change. You're dedicated when you hit that subscribe button, right? Or when you subscribe to the podcast. You want to make change. You want it. You feel that song deep down inside. And again, it excites me. And I feel it, and I see people around me feel it. That's why I talk about, I've talked about this before, is just understanding that you are the 5 people, the average of the 5 people you hang out with. And then knowing that, sometimes you have to introduce new people into your lives. So that means maybe you have to find like-minded individuals and introduce them into your lives. And when they come into your lives, don't let them go, right? If they provide you a nurturing environment, don't ever let that go. I think a lot of times you may be living in that negative environment. So what happens is, because of the situation, you are willing to put good things at risk, as opposed to removing negative things to include the good things. And this goes with intuition. This goes with understanding that this is where I feel at home, right? This is where I feel my intuition is pointing me, and aligning everything in your life with that. That's not saying that you are running away from bad things. That's not at all what it is. Yes, you are taking responsibility, but you will no longer tolerate those negative things in life. You have to understand the difference. You are correcting those things that don't matter in your life. They're going to be sucking the energy out of you, so you have no energy to do those things that you want in life, to not be able to do the things that you want, right? If you have to ask for permission, you are in the wrong situation. And in realizing that, there is always a way to change that. You aren't running away from anything. You're correcting what needs to be corrected. And myself, I realize that the human experience is limited. And I try to take my best efforts every single day to let those people that are around me, that matter to me, that I love and care about, that they know that. And I talk about being selfish, right? Because you have to be selfish to be able to build yourself up, to build yourself strong. But once you've built yourself essentially into a strong oak, you need to be nurturing your support system that is feeding your roots. You need to be doing that. Those good positive vibes that are feeding your roots, don't cut them out. Because there may be dark days, a dark environment, and those nutrients, those friends, those family, whoever it is, that's helping nurture the tree, don't cut those out. Because eventually those nutrients, right, you can get rid of the bad environment, and then you'll flourish. And so just going back to realizing that you have the greatness inside you. You have the song. You have to realize that, again, life is short. The human experience is short. And the other week I talked about risk. Risk is almost like a bad word. Somebody hear that word and nobody wants to take risk, because your mind automatically flips to that logic side and like, risk, whoa. We didn't sign up for this. We are not taking risk here. You have to understand, greatest things you want, you really truly want, are on the other side of that risk, on the other side of that comfort zone, on the other side of that uncertainty. Again, the closer and more comfortable you get with uncertainty, you realize that you have no more limitations at that point. You have a baseline to go off of, a track record to understand that it's not as bad as it seems. It's just mostly just a mental hurdle that is stopping you from doing it. And realizing that the value you have inside, it needs to be shared. Now, coming on here and saying that, it may not be so easy for me. For me, I can express that a lot more fluidly now than I used to be able to. A couple years ago, maybe not. I know even my Instagram videos were, again, hard to watch just even a couple years ago. I mean, I'm able to always talk to somebody throughout life if it was something meaningful, because I was always raised that if you didn't have anything important to say, right, you don't say anything at all. But at this point, it's just getting out there and expressing yourself and talking about it and providing the value, helping others find the value. Like, you have nothing to be ashamed of. The value people bring is amazing. And like I just talked about, looking at the uniqueness of people, the perspective you have. Your perspective could solve many other different thoughts and ideas in people's lives, right? Give them perspective that they didn't even know about. Make them see things differently. Maybe change their lives for the better, whether it's through your art, whether it's through your gardening, whether it's through just a conversation, whether it's through whatever the case is. You have value. Never think that you don't have value. A lot of times we get trapped in our heads. And this is why I talk about extracting the emotions and the thoughts and ideas and realizing that you are just the observer of these thoughts, emotions, and ideas. And realize that if you do become the awareness of this, you can make and change the choices that you want in life. It takes practice to be able to do that. You have to be aware of the thoughts and ideas and the voice that's inside your head that flickers back and forth between, yes, you're right, no, you're wrong, what are you doing? Yes, that sounds great. No, it doesn't sound great. What are you doing? It's a constant battle in there. That voice is in there narrating your whole story. Goods, bads, the indifference, it doesn't matter. It swings both ways. Who knows, if that guy's, who knows about that guy, right? He never makes any sense. And if you were stuck in a car with that guy, you would probably call him or her crazy, right? Like, who is this guy? I can't live with this guy. There would be no way if it was that voice was outside of your head. It's being aware that you are the consciousness of your life. And if you can extract everything else from that consciousness, this is where you understand what self-awareness is being aware that you aren't these things. And this detaches you from your past, detaches you for future events that you're waiting for, to think that at that point things will get better, because none of it will. It's all just kind of floating out, if you want to, floating out in the abyss. It's up to our conscious side, our awareness, to pick the pieces that we want, flick away the stuff we don't want, and continue to create and build our lives through expressing whatever that song is inside you. And I think, we have to realize that. And anybody that I've ever approached, whether it was a homeless man on the street or whether a CEO, whoever it was, I always approach them the same way. I always joke. I always, I see him as my equal. Like, what does this person have? What knowledge do they have? What value do they have that they can share, right? What value do I bring that I can share to them? Because I find it's really intriguing to learn about other people and where they're coming from, their story. I think people's stories are so interesting because people are so unique, and no one story is the same. Some guy, Susie, you meet down the road isn't going to have the same story as Jane that lives next door. Nobody has the same story. You provide value. And again, to be able to see that, you have to, again, extract your thoughts and ideas, your situation. Because a lot of times your environment will dictate and try to recondition you and try to punish you for seeing things the way you want to see them. Or a lot of times it's just in our head. 9 out of 10 times it's amplified in our head. We think it'll be worse than it actually is. So why not live a human experience where you are doing what you want to do without going crazy, right? I'm not saying do something crazy and outrageous like that, but what I'm saying is to live a life that you enjoy, that you're happy with and you're passionate about. It may not make millions of dollars, maybe it will, but money isn't everything. And I can tell you that for a fact. The value is where you can be happy. And many philosophers have always talked about this concept that you've come into this world with everything you'll ever need. Our society has conditioned us that no, you need more. Because if you're not consuming, the world doesn't go round and round, right? But if you realize that you are everything that you need, and sometimes we just need a little perspective to see that you should be able to live a happy life. You shouldn't be seeking happiness. You shouldn't be seeking a relationship. You shouldn't be seeking a job or money and think that once you get to that point, then you'll be happy. Then you'll have value. And a lot of times thinking that we don't have value, we try to fill that void that we think that we don't have value in, when in fact we do. And this gets me to think about the facts that, a lot of times I see that people see value. Other people will see value in yourself before you see the value. This is why coaches are so important, right? Or just a third person in general. They see value in you. And a lot of times you can't see it because you haven't extracted yourself away from your thoughts, your ideas, your emotions. You haven't extracted yourself away from your thoughts, ideas, and emotions to be able to see that. So instead, someone else will see it. And they'll be like, yeah, you know what? You're doing great. You're doing fantastic. A lot of times it's hard for us to see it. And we don't want to believe it. It's like, what do you mean? I think I'm just normal. It ties all back into it, right? You think you're just normal. You're unique. You get a new, unique perspective. You have value. And realizing that, and then expressing that with the world, right? Finding like-minded people, enjoy life. And you only live it once. No one's here to dictate the way life should be. If they are, well, then you need to remove them, right? They don't need to be part of your life. Maybe at one point in your life, you didn't have the wake-up call, right? You realize this isn't the life I want anymore. Then change it. Make the life that you want. There are ways to do that. Even though the perspective you have right now, it may not seem that way. Your environment may not want you to see it that way. But so you challenge it. What have you got to lose? right? You have the experience. Live with no regrets, right? Put it all on the table. That's always been my mentality. Being in the moment, enjoying yourself. Yes, you help and appreciate those people around you because they help you get to where you are today. That's not saying go out and seek people and take advantage of them. What I'm saying is you provide your value to the world will find like-minded people that will provide value to you. But you are not seeking to take value. Value is just brought to you. And, just knowing that, I just wanted you guys to know this was a topic that, I see in a lot of people throughout my life, and they struggle with finding value. They feel like they have a void there because they feel like they're lost. And we forget, well, we're not lost. We're always in creation, creating the life that we want. When that particular light bulb comes on, then we start making the change. Once we accept the fact that we are in control, that we can share a song and be okay with that and not care about what other people think. I'm not saying to just go off at people or anything like that feel like they don't agree with your perspective. They're not the people for you. That's fine. If your opinion's different than mine, that's great. But for me, I'm going to find those people that help me grow and prosper. Reach out with new people, new groups. That's what I love about Discover Ignite, right? And interviewing some awesome people. So I can go out and meet amazing people that are like-minded and seeing their value and displaying that. So I think it's a marvelous thing for people to be able to express their value. They found their value. Now let's amplify it, right? That's why I want you guys to find your value. That's why I provide the Discover Possibility series, is for you guys to find your value. That's why I created the Ignite Mindset course, right? Is to find your value. I want you to get to where you want to in life. A lot of times you just need that coach, right? You just need that third person to show you what it is, or sometimes to validate it, because a lot of times we don't believe that it's worth a value. A lot of times we may feel that I'm just a normal person. What kind of value do I bring to the world? And in fact, you provide a lot of value, and people see it. Those people that see it and share it, those are the people that really want to see you succeed. Because they can see it in you. You can see this on sports teams a lot, right? When the coach puts in a little no-name kid, the kid sees no value in himself, but the coach sees all the value in the world. And then when he goes out there, and then the kid finally realizes that now I'm seeing what the coach is telling me about. That's what I'm talking about. You get perspective, like I try to provide you guys here with Discover Ignite, on the value that you bring, put you in the game, then you see for yourself. And then that confidence builds, and then you fly. You ignite the change that you want in your life. So thank you guys. Thank you guys for everything that you do. I want you to know that you have value, and I want you to ignite change and share your story, share your song with the world.